Doing it.
Let's roll.
Hello. I'm Matt Mulholland. That's Remington Huggins.
How you guys doing this afternoon?
This is the Listen to This Bull live show. This is a show you get to call in or comment in. Ask us any question you want about anything, like what's stuck in my throat currently. You weirdos that are thinking something awful right now about that comment. It's probably the popcorn I was just eating off screen. I'm going to drink the beer that's in front of me instead.
Matt's struggling this afternoon. That's all right though. We can handle that. His few words today besides coughing.
I'm feeling better now.
There you go. No problem. No problem.
So today we have a very interesting episode. We've got Vince Perri, who has his own show that's going to come on. He's been doing this a little bit longer than we have. I'm really excited to have him, mostly because there's not that many public adjusters that do this kind of thing. He's in the wings finally. I haven't had a chance to test his audio. Hopefully he's had a chance to do it. We'll see. I'm just going to pull him right in right now. Oh, good. Here he comes.
Let's do it.
Oh,
Squish. Hey.
how's it work? Does it work?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing good, man. Doing good.
I'm like stoked, man.
Look at that. Look at that.
Wait. Oh, look at that.
Oh, there we go. I'm just going to be real close to you, but
We're gonna be squeezing in here.
hey there.
What's going on, Vince? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm gonna see if I can get this thing full screen. There we go. Now I can see Matthew's handsome face.
Oh, no, that's Remington. I'm the other one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Can you zoom out slightly with that camera?
I sure can.
So, Vince, how long have you been doing this, man? How long have you had well, I know your commercial claims advocate show is not that old, but you've been doing some YouTube and Facebook videos for a while.
Yeah, well, no, not too long actually. We just put out a video that's coming out tomorrow that talks about sort of our 2020 and our results. And we had 1,700 new subscribers in 2020, but goes to show we only have about 1,800. So in 2019, when we started this, we only had about 100 subscribers, and then 2020, I guess nobody had anything better to do than sit at home and watch my ugly face.
That's probably true, but that's probably where all our subscribers keep going off to, because they just don't show up for us at all, man. They've run. So when did you put your first video out? I remember when I first started looking into a possibility of putting out some videos on YouTube and making it something I do regularly, because I had a few videos here and there for a while, but I remember searching online for public adjuster videos on YouTube, and you were the only one that came up for a minute there. So
It was all kind of part of my master plan.
was it?
So, fact of the matter, if you want me to get into it, was I was traveling with my wife years ago. We went on a 3-month backpacking trip across Thailand, 2-month backpacking trip across South America. And before that second one, it dawned on me, well, let me start a YouTube channel. Why not? So we started a travel channel called Make It Work and Travel. Not the best quality stuff. It's not very easy to do a vlog, and there's a lot of travel vlogs out there. So when Hurricane Irma hit, and it's like, all right, so we're done traveling. So I was working Hurricane Irma like crazy. Travel vlog is over and finished, and then fast forward, and then I moved to Tampa because my wife got a pretty good opportunity out here. And I guess I could say that, because I was in a new place away from my hometown of Miami, I had to sort of start from scratch. And by starting from scratch, I really wasn't quite as busy, I would say, as I was when I was in Miami, because it was more, let's network and let's get to know people and, sign my claims here and there. But it was me traveling back and forth to Miami, networking in Tampa, and then a little bit more downtime than I was used to. I read a book by Gary V called Crushing.
Another guy.
Crush It. Yeah. And I'm reading it about trying to grow the travel channel. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? There's a million travel vlogs out there. Why don't I do a public adjusting one? So one of my favorite YouTubers was Peter McKinnon, I think his name is. He does like all photography stuff. And he basically does what I do is he sits the camera in front and he just goes raw and just talks about, different cameras and different things. And I'm like, that's what I'm going to do, except he cuts it. I wanted to make it raw and uncut. And it made it easier for me too, to be honest, to edit it. And I just set the camera in front. I always said, if you know what your business, if you know what you're talking about, you should be able to go off the cuff. And that's basically what I did.
Raw and uncut.
There you go.
I feel like there should be an unrated version after you say it like that.
I just wish you guys would have told me you were drinking beer. I would have got myself a cerveza.
Well, we can take a break if you need to. This is a pretty typical thing for us.
I know. You're right. You didn't have to tell me. I've seen the other ones.
Yeah, have a beer with us. You got somebody there that can grab you one, don't you?
You want me to go get one?
I think you should. Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds.
Now that Vince is joining happy hour with us.
Yeah. Now things always get more interesting after beer 3, I think we discovered on the pubs and policy stuff.
I think so.
We get a lot more interesting conversation at that point.
You guys are just bad influences.
Yeah, it happens. It's 2021. We get to do what we want to do.
I've been told I'm very influential.
Pate, what's going on, buddy? Nice seeing you, man. Happy New Year. Your boys in 6 days, national championship. I love it. Love it. Can they pull off the win against the Buckeyes? I want to see what happens. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I'm going to give that shout out to Pate.
What is this?
All right, so that's cinnamon roll sour ale.
It's
Cinnamon?
so good.
Wow.
I've never heard of that before.
That's right up your alley, Remington.
Is it?
Well,
I would try that.
This is
I'm
from
a cinnamon roll guy.
Where's our interest?
this is what out here in Tampa.
This is what we've got going on next. And you might not be able to see it, but this is a sticky stout. Sticky.
Where are you guys
right
located?
here. So we're in Kennesaw. Remington's out of Roswell. But the Red Hair Brewery is right around the corner for both of us.
To give you a better geographic sense, is we're just north of Atlanta. I'm north of Atlanta, probably 15 miles, and he's northwest, probably 20 miles. Good way to put it.
That's probably better than what I said. Where I just assumed that you know
just to help out.
Talking about.
Are you currently in Miami right now or South Florida?
Tampa.
Okay. On
Central.
the West Coast. Yeah.
On the West Coast, yeah.
What's the name of your company, Vince?
So the Commercial Claims Advocate, that's its own company, but my public adjusting firm is Key Biscayne Claim Adjusters, who I've been with now for the past 12 years, and we're making a little transition now to Elite Resolutions. Elite Resolutions will be official probably by the end of the month.
Elite Resolutions.
And
what's better than normal resolutions? I mean, there's different tiers of resolutions.
Yeah, but
there's like regular resolutions, and then there's like slightly elevated resolutions, SLR, and then there's elite, and that's way up there in resolutions.
I don't think Vince agrees with you. I think you have something else to say about that.
We got to fool him. We got to fool him with the elite.
Yeah. Well, what's the difference between the two companies? Compared, you got Commercial Claims Advocate, and then your PA firm. Yeah.
Oh, well, the Commercial Claims Advocate, that's turning into sort of an educational platform for public adjusters. That's what we're trying to get to. We've got we did our first mentorship course, one-on-one consulting course. We did that in June, I think it was. We just had 13 people because it was going to take up a lot of my time. So what we did is we did 1 full day webinar, 1 full day shadowing, plus the book, and plus basically access to me whenever the hell they want. These guys call me all the time, which is kind of cool. And then now what we're doing is we did a group course. Basically, we have just almost 30 people signed up. We're separating that into 3 weeks, 10, 10, and 10. And we're doing, that's a 2-day webinar where it's 1 day full webinar. Day two is experts. I've got an attorney, an estimator, and a water mitigation company. Gonna just sort of
Nice.
show them the ropes.
People call you and you actually get paid to mentor them. That's cool. How do I get on that profile, that program?
No, not. I
Is
mean,
there
they paid for the course, and
Ah.
one of the selling points, I guess, for
They
the
get a
course.
perk of being able to call you. That's cool. Do you get the same question all the time?
No, I don't. I get a lot of IAs that call me and ask me about public adjusting, though.
Do you really?
Yeah, they're sick and tired of the BS. And I say, I guess I can, right?
What is wrong with public adjusters these days?
I keep on hearing that seems to be more prevalent in the last 2 years, where I'm seeing independent adjusters asking about the PA field and really thinking about taking that jump from one side to the other. So I hear that constantly.
Well, they're cutting their fees like crazy. From what their fee schedule has gotten chopped up, from what I've heard. Number one. Number two is I think they're pretty sick and tired of having to cut their own estimates after they submit them, when they're the ones that have been out to the property and they know what's damaged and knows what needs to be repaired. And you've got some desk adjuster telling them that they can't pay for this and they can't pay for that. And I think they're a little tired of it, And I think the workload is pretty crazy too. It's pretty crazy intense for the amount of money they're making. I'm not sure about that.
A lot of the IAs are complaining to us about getting less work. They're having ladder assists go out and end up taking their jobs over. Engineers are even taking over a lot of the what normally you would have a field adjuster out there, an independent field adjuster, and they're just not existent anymore. And it's instead engineers are taking over that role in ladder assist. Is that the same thing happening in Florida for you guys?
Yeah, ladder assist has become pretty prevalent out here too. I've noticed that in the last year. Is
there any feedback from Florida's Department of Insurance regarding whether or not the ladder assist should be licensed adjusters or anything like that? Has anybody tried to make any kind of a stink about it? I know the IA firms, they all want to do something about this. There could be a coalition there between public adjusters and insurance adjusters. I
mean, that's a good question, right? What does it state? It states, I know it states somewhere where in order, you have to have the licensed adjuster go up and inspect the roof. It can't just be they should be licensed adjusters. If not licensed adjusters, they should be licensed roofers if they're going up there to inspect the roof. I don't know if these guys are actually licensed and certified in roofing.
I mean, they don't have to be licensed to inspect the roof, but they got to be licensed to adjust the loss. But the problem is that the people that are going on to inspect the roof are the ones that are adjusting the loss. Let me ask you this, Remington. As an attorney, if someone writes H equals and W equals and puts a number beside it, did they adjust the loss?
It's somewhat of a gray area, because really the adjustment of the loss is applying the damage that is documented to the policy and deciding what's covered and what's not, as well as throwing an estimate in there. I'm with you though. I mean, every single time I have a ladder assist in a deposition, those questions are asked. Are you licensed in Georgia? Are you licensed in Florida? What are your credentials? Things like that. And they're never licensed, ever. I don't think I've ever, 0% of the time where a ladder assist is actually licensed in what they're doing. And in fact, a lot of times they're, and they worked at, they were a bartender 6 months ago, or things like that. And there's no this against the bartender. What I'm trying to say is that they don't have experience to determine, at the same time, what is damage and what's not, a lot of times when I get in those depositions. So.
Well, they're going up there and they're taking a bunch of photos, and based on they're technically inspecting the roof.
They're being used as an expert, if anything else. So if they're an expert that is determining, Pete says it's an observation of damage. And he's right. If they're the ones that are determining what is damaged, they are technically applying policy, because the word damage is something that should be defined by the policy. Even if it isn't, it should be.
Well, there's a difference between what's damaged and what's covered. And I think that's what Page's trying to say. The distinction is they are out there to document damage, supposedly, is what the ladder assist is supposed to do. And then, like I said, that desk adjuster is going to apply the policy language to whatever documentation comes in from the ladder assist. I don't agree with it, but that's what they're doing.
What do you think, Vince? You think that's adjusting, or do you think it's still adjusting even if they don't say whether or not something's covered?
I think it's a fine line either way. I mean, it's just they're going up there, like I said, they're just taking a bunch of photos, and yeah, they're measuring it and they're inspecting it, and based on their report, that's where the coverage is being determined. So, I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Well, you can use an expert to determine whether or not something is covered and make a damage determination. Engineers, industrial hygienists, building consultants, they're used for that kind of thing all the time. But even insurance adjusters that are licensed, that are out in the field, don't have the authority to determine whether or not something is coverage most of the time.
Especially if you're not
lately, it's getting worse. So if they don't have the credentials to do that, and the ladder assists don't have the credentials to do that, at some point there's a line where they've crossed over and now they are adjusting the loss. If you are determining what is damage based on the policy language, saying H equals this, there's this many damaged hail hits in a square,
But
then
like
they're applying policy language to determine that, right?
Right. And like Remington said, I mean, these guys don't really have any qualifications at all. The couple of ladder assists that I've been a part of, I mean, they were just like you said, I mean, they were sort of guys just sort of picked off the street that have the guts to go up to a 4-story or 5-story building that they're climbing up a ladder and they're getting up there and they're basically risking their lives to go and take a couple photos so that the field adjuster or whoever it is that's out there doesn't have to do it. I don't know. So like I said, the couple that I've had, it's just they're just extremely, extremely high roofs. And it just seemed to me that they were just calling them out there so that I guess the field adjuster didn't have to do it.
So is a ladder assist in big picture, is it an unlicensed IA essentially? Go document the damage. Besides, they don't make an estimate. And I know IAs do make estimates.
Sometimes they do.
I've never seen that happen before.
They're definitely writing a report as if they're some kind of an engineer or an expert. A lot of times.
I don't think
I've seen, if you go onto Ladder Now's website, they say that they can produce an estimate for you. A lot of the ladder assist companies are roofing contractors that can produce an estimate, and they're being used in such a way to give a comparable estimate sometimes. So sometimes they do, definitely not every time.
Right, but doesn't that have to be a licensed roofer to go up there and provide you with an estimate? The person
not in every state. You guys are lucky to have licenses for that in Florida.
I agree with you 100%, Vince. If you go up there, draft an estimate for repairs, damage, especially in the state of Florida, you should have your license to do so.
Well, yeah.
Definitely.
Are ladder assist licensed roofers in Florida?
Ladder assists are not licensed roofers. That's the problem. That's the issue that we're having. Or
would you rather them be licensed roofers or licensed adjusters?
I don't license something would be nice.
I
haven't had to deal with it too many times, but like I said, the times that I've had, it's a guy who's just there. That's all he does. One of them that I had, he literally took the phone of the field adjuster and went up there to take the photos with his phone.
Now, I've been handed a camera many times. I always like it when that happens because it lets me dictate what's damaged. And then when I take those photos of whatever I think is damaged, obviously the adjuster is going to go through it. But if I take a photo of something that is questionable, then I have just allowed that adjuster to make the determination as if I was a ladder assist. But there are ladder assists that don't take that questionable photo because they don't think that it's damaged. So they make the determination over what is or isn't damaged. They take that photo and they're not allowing the adjuster to determine whether or not it really is damage covered by the policy or not.
But I think what Vince's point is you have a license. They don't. And they're going up there with the camera and making these and taking these pictures and everything else and handing their phone back to the to that field adjuster that doesn't want to climb the ladder,
And the guys that I've seen, the ladder assist that I've seen, is they don't know what to take photos of. They're just up there just taking some photos. They're not exactly licensed or experienced in actually taking damage related photos.
Yeah, that's true. So to Pate's statement here, H has no relevant application of policy, in my opinion, is a broad of a definition to extrapolate damage determinations to coverage determinations. Let me ask you a question, Pate. I feel like we should just pull him on the show. Do you want to send him a link real quick? Mm-hmm. I actually want to ask him a direct question. Pate, are you able to get on?
Seems like it.
I'm going to come back to that question. Hopefully I can remember what it is. I should write it down. That's what I should do when I have a question.
It's got to have your legal pad.
I'm not a lawyer. I don't think I can actually legally use a legal pad.
You have to have a license.
What?
There you go. There you go, Ben.
Unlicensed practice of law. Damn it.
Matt gives me a very hard time about my legal pad.
Oh, he's
Very
able
hard
to get
time.
on. Did you send him a link already?
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding.
This is pretty cool. You guys got to teach me how to do this. I like this whole little studio thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, after the show, I'll go through it with you. It's really simple, and it's not even that expensive.
Nice.
So many adjusters won't get on a roof. Virtual is even worse depending on the adjuster. I agree. Actually, virtual. Do you guys have virtual adjusters, virtual inspections in Florida? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
So
Are you talking about drones?
So ladder assist will get up on a roof a lot of times, and they'll pull up a desk adjuster on their phone on like a FaceTime kind of a deal, and they all have their own apps. And then they'll say, "Look, over FaceTime, this is what I think is hail," and the resolution is so poor they can't see anything. So I've had ladder assist just say bullshit is damage. Show it to the adjuster through the phone, and the desk adjuster agree with it, which, I was okay with. It was helping out my client.
Right.
But then I've also had the opposite, where the ladder assist refused to show something to the adjuster because he didn't think it was damage and didn't want the adjuster to believe that he believed that might be damage. He didn't want the adjuster to not give him future work because he was showing the adjuster some bullshit or what he thought was bullshit. So I've had it go both ways. If the ladder assist isn't presenting everything to the adjuster to make the determination, then did a full and complete investigation even happen? Definitely not by a licensed adjuster. All right, Pate's on here.
What they're talking about with that statement is probably like a virtual, probably like drones and Matterport and stuff like that. What? Look who it is.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Just working and studying today.
Welcome to the party, buddy.
Not at the house.
All right, I pulled up your question again. Hopefully, it'll remind me what I was going to ask.
Pretty
you.
cool too, because Pate's got the microphone like right there next to his mouth. It
Yeah, he does.
What? Everyone.
So, Pate, to your point here, if they're writing down H equals and they're putting a number down,
yep,
they are making their own determination over how much damage there is, right?
Correct.
We're on the same page there. So, if they don't take photos of undamaged parts of the roof, did a full investigation happen?
I don't know. That would be so this is obviously my opinion, and I will let Remington extrapolate further. But did a full investigation happen? So the answer is maybe. So that would be a case-by-case, issue-specific need, right? So did they observe? Your question is, did the pictures not taking pictures of the damaged portion or non-damaged portion trigger a full investigation? I think a full investigation isn't determined by pictures. A full investigation is done by complete observation. So pictures don't dictate investigation.
So who has to do the observation is the question. Do you think it has to be a licensed adjuster that observes every portion of the property? Especially if they're not going to provide coverage for that section. If there isn't an observation by a licensed adjuster for the non-paid for sections ever, did a full investigation happen?
I think it's a good question. I mean, let's flip it. What if it's an engineer who does the inspection and not the licensed adjuster? Is that a full inspection? Flip it.
Well, the engineer's going to put some stuff in his report about the undamaged stuff, at least. A ladder assist sure as hell doesn't put anything in their reports about the undamaged stuff, do they?
The question, I think there's three questions here, right? So one, does an adjuster have to look at, observe everything? Do they have to take pictures of everything? the answer is, do they actually have to do it with their own eyes, be there, etc.? I think the answer is no. Second, do pictures have to be there of the undamaged portion? I would say in many instances, no. The question then goes, what must happen to do a full investigation? And I think because of the complexity of claims, issues of claims, and different types of claims, this is a hard scenario. But on a standard roof claim, I think you could have an adjuster that hired, and let's say adequate, so that is a necessary term, adequate. And I don't want to go down the road of what would be determined adequate in this, and I'm sure that was the next question, but adequate personnel or software or some sort of observation method to then look over the entirety of the loss. So here's a question. If a loss is a policy with like that 300 plus structure policy you and I looked at the other day, okay? Mm-hmm. If the insured says only a portion of these were damaged, okay? Insured says only a portion of my structure is damaged. So one would be many structures, only a portion of these numbers. So like, let's say 100 of the 350 were damaged. Is it then the requirement to look at all 350? I say no. So let's descale that to one structure. If they say, oh, my faucet leaked and destroyed my kitchen, is it then the adjuster's responsibility to look at all of the entire house? I'd say no. Now you're going to say the roof is different.
They have to investigate the loss, and you're telling them what the loss is. But if the loss is, according to you, the full roof, do they have to? You said no, they don't have to take photos.
Correct.
So they don't have to provide evidence that they fully investigated, at least.
Correct.
But somebody has to look at all of it if you are claiming all of it.
So you guys are also talking in terms of files that go to public adjusters and law firms. If we really talk about, every single file, most don't go. So if you're saying, let's take my parents' house, for example, they were hit with a storm, wind, adjuster went out, he looked at the entire roof, he walked up there, he said, hey, there's very minimal damage. He took 3 pictures or something like that. That's what they gave us, maybe more, maybe less, but 3 relevant pictures were provided. Okay. I don't know what he did, what he didn't do, but I came home 3 months later and I kind of agreed with his determination. Okay. And he provided the minimal information. Do I know that he looked at the entire thing? No, I got no clue. But the fact of the matter is, in that particular, and I'm not pro them not providing enough data, but I don't think that making them provide data for every single claim is necessary. And I think the usage of a ladder assist, though is often done improper, could be done properly. I think that hiring the adequate experts by the carrier, if done properly, and notice I said adequate, that's pretty important, is a tool to the claim. So here's the next question. Am I allowed to use forward-looking infrared imaging as an adjuster? Yes or no?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, okay. Let's stop there. So the answer is yes. So the only determination into the flat roof for me to, without cutting it and further causing destruction, is with FLIR. Now, here's a better question. Do you want me, adjuster who does not use FLIR and who is not an expert in FLIR, every single day to take a FLIR and say, you know what, maybe it is, or it's not? Or do you want an expert?
I don't think the question is whether or not an expert should be involved, I guess.
Well, hold on, because
what matters more is what are the qualifications of the expert, right?
Because you said a ladder.
I think I know where you're going. We did say
right.
ladder. So in that scenario, though, you've got, let's call it thermal. My wife was looking into this certification recently, and I can never remember the name of it. A thermal imaging expert. There is a word for it. If it's that, and they don't provide photos of everything to the adjuster, then did the adjuster or did the carrier still provide a full investigation, even though they sent out the right credentialed person?
So again, you're hanging, not at all, because again, you're hanging your hat on providing photos. Thermography. Observation does not necessarily equal photos. Now, with Remington, on the other hand, he would shred this person apart because he would say, how do I know? How does my insured know? However, that steps away.
Just so big, you just rip them apart.
So the issue is not, the question is not,
I was just,
oh, he's jacked. They're going to,
ladies.
Dude, I wish you played for Ohio State because I feel like they're going to need some. They're going to need some help.
Hey,
I mean,
as long as they cover, we're good.
Yeah. I wish we were watching that game together so that for the entire second half, I could see the pain in your eyes. No, but I mean, I think that a ladder assist is a tool. Do I think ladder assist are adequately used? Not always, but engineers aren't adequately used sometimes, right? Like, no matter the tool, it can be used incorrectly. So when you say to something like H equal adjustment, right? Is that them adjusting the claim? No, that's making a determination of damage. That's first. So there's steps into making a determination on coverage, right? So one, damage has to be present.
I feel like you're still studying for some essays or something at this point.
What are you studying for right now? You are like on it right now.
Yeah, you got so down into this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because your statement is a ladder assist writing H equals on a roof adjusting the claim, and no, it is not at all. If that's adjusting the claim, then every contractor in the country that does hail or wind on the minor determination has then created UPPA. That's not a road I'm interested in going down. And secondly, I think it is an overly broad definition of adjustment. Adjustment is sitting down and taking a damage model, taking that damage model and having an associated dollar figure of repair or replacement, right? And then taking that, then looking at the policy and say, okay, does this policy cover this? If so, under the terms of this policy, how does that pay out in relation to the damage model? That is adjusting a claim.
I agree 100% with Pate.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Applying the damage to the policy and determining coverage is when an adjustment occurs, in my opinion.
I've been wrong for a long time on this thing.
Yeah, it's just like every roofer that goes out there. They're always concerned of not interpreting policy and not acting as an adjuster and so on and so forth. It's kind of the same thing what Pate's saying.
Yeah.
Olivia, can you do me a favor and take that point where Remington says, I agree 100% with Pate. Send it to my wife so she can know what that sounds like.
Absolutely. I'll put it on loop
I'm
for
going to
you.
retract to 80%.
I think you should.
Don't do it, Olivia, because then Pate's wife's going to get mad at you.
Thanks, Pate. I appreciate it, man. Get back to
I appreciate y'all, man. I
See
love
you, buddy.
this show.
Hey,
Yes, be good, homie.
All right, Pate. We'll see you soon, man.
We got a big long one from a Facebook user. Put it on the screen.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So all state adjusters that I work with will always allow me another adjuster to inspect if I can find anything anywhere on property. This allows me to look at the roof for anything that I want. An adjustment is full, complete adjustment. So maybe the roof had 2 inspection, but I have an interior adjustment spot. It allows me full inspect of any damages on the property. I will make the adjusters go everywhere, regardless of interior or just roof. I make them do an actual inspection, not just roof. They get aggravated. Well, just because you're making them do things.
Exactly.
What do you think about this question, Vince?
Is it
what's
Thanks.
that? Yeah. What's that?
You go first.
I mean, I do not know who asked this question, but I mean, if there's a pipe burst in the kitchen, there's no need to look at a roof. I mean, you got to have a date of loss. You got to have a type of loss. You know, I mean, if there was a hailstorm a week before the pipe burst, then you got to file 2 claims. You know, you got to separate those claims. I mean, that's the main key. But to look at every inch of a structure because there's one particular loss, I mean, I could see why that field adjuster is aggravated. I could see it.
But if your job as a PA is to look out for the best interests of the insured, right, Vince? Look out for the best interest of the insured. If it's in the best interest of the insured to show everything all fine, but if you take the adjuster around every part of the house and they're taking photos and suddenly underwriting gets some wind of something that's
a fine line though, right? Because I've got an adjuster up in Pensacola that he asked me the other day. He's like, man, I had this adjuster and there was only damage in one room and he insisted on taking photos in every room. What should I do if they want to do that? And I'm like, it's kind of a fine line. I mean, Remington, I mean, how would you say it? I think, right? I think I'm pretty, everybody knows sort of I've said it several times. My style is I like to make love, not war. So I usually get along with the adjusters that go out there. I feel like the better I get along with them, the better results that I have. And it seems to have worked in my career. That being said, I will still let them know if I don't feel very comfortable. Or I will ask the insured. I said, how do you feel about them looking in every room and taking photos in every room? But for me to just stand there and say, no, you can't do it, you know, and then they put on their report, public adjuster did not allow me to inspect the room, blah, 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 blah. It's like,
this is a good question for an attorney. Great point, Vince. Great point. If you present the loss as being on this half of the house and the adjuster says that they need to take photos everywhere for underwriting, and you prevent them from taking photos everywhere, have you not cooperated with the investigation of the claim?
Why would you, like you said, love rather than war? I mean, why would you not just let them, hey, if you want to go in that back bedroom and take pictures, have at it. You know, I mean, seriously, why there's no need to stop somebody from going and taking those pictures.
You can't say love rather than war and then talk about photos in a bedroom.
Where the magic happens.
Here's what needs to happen though. If a public adjuster, a contractor, attorney is with an adjuster and they're walking through a house and that PA, whoever it might be, is trying to say, we got to inspect the whole entire house, that needs to be discussed with that policyholder beforehand, because you're just looking for that policyholder to force them to file new claims on other damage. You got to have that discussion with that policyholder before you're saying, hey, by the way, I know we got this pipe burst in the kitchen, but let's go look at this back bedroom and see if we can find something. You know, I mean, that needs to be a discussion. In my opinion. You
can legally stop the adjuster from doing the rest of it if it has nothing to do with the loss.
I like to leave it up to the policyholder. I'll say, look, ma'am, you know, are you okay with them going into these rooms? There's no damage in any of these rooms. We already know that. And we've already informed the insurance company that there's no damage in these rooms, but he's insisting on taking photos. Are you okay with that? Is that something that you want them to do?
Would you go further to tell the insured what the consequences would be if they say no? Do you know what the consequences would be?
Oh, it's a lazy inspection. I mean, let's face it. It's a lazy inspection for, like you said, for underwriting, so that, you know, they've got photos, they've got evidence of the oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? Of the status of the home, of the, you know, how the home is, or how the condition. Jesus. Yeah.
Jesus condition.
So the question, the big long question about Allstate was from Jen. She said she was texting and driving. No, Jen. She's saying that the point was they say no reinspection, but there's a water spot and I can get them to look at the roof again.
I see what the context of what Jen is saying, and I see it's hard to get Allstate anyway. I know Allstate's not necessarily a carrier, and in Florida they use different carrier names for Allstate. But in Georgia, it's hard for them to do a reinspection and things like that. So I could see with Jen's point, potentially, if you see a water stain on the ceiling, let's go look at the entire house, look at the ceiling or the walls and see if there's any other water that's, you know, coming through. You can see that.
But like with Jen's point, like I have a question for her. Like, is this a claim that you're coming on after the initial inspection has already occurred? Were you involved in the initial inspection and you just maybe forgot to show them that damage? I mean, I think it could vary. Like if I'm coming in on a claim and let's say they've already made a coverage determination, or I've seen their report and, you know, they're not claiming any damage inside, I'm going to first try and inform them of the interior damage. And I may even try to demand a reinspection, you know, and say, hey, you guys need to come out here. And
I can tell you in this state, a lot of times, I didn't mean to put that up. Did you put that up, Olivia?
I didn't. You did.
I'll push the button. In this state, a lot of times they deny reinspects because there isn't any dispute resolution. There's really not that much leverage that a PA or a contractor or an attorney has in this state. I guess attorneys have leverage. You guys always have leverage.
Why don't you have leverage?
Still not nearly as much as I have in Florida when I have a case.
So they say no, there's no reinspection isn't warranted. So to Jen's point, just showing them any kind of additional damage anywhere could potentially get them to be forced into having to reinspect because we've shown them something that they didn't inspect yet. So even if they say that they have had a full inspection prior, if you give them anything new, even from the interior, even if it's unrelated, it forces them into a position where they have to at least investigate that additional damage.
Right. It's not like that in Georgia. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of tough states that would have it like that, but I think that would work in any state if you're having an issue like that. But I was wanting to answer for her so she doesn't write anymore while driving. She did anyway. Stop it.
Yeah.
Can I just say I'm really excited to be on the show of what the potential most popular or most best public adjuster in the country. Where's the clapping sound?
The world.
Yay!
Definitely the whole world.
That's pretty awesome, man. Congratulations
yeah,
already. Sometimes it's just okay to be nominated.
That's what my wife says. She anticipates I'm going to lose.
Doesn't matter, you're there.
You go ahead and set the seeds in place to give me the pat on the back for the attaboy.
Everybody's wearing your
it's
hat
still
now.
Good.
Everybody's wearing your hat now. I mean, you're like,
I kind of want to have a debate. I don't know if the other guys would be willing to do that or not, but it would be really cool if we had there's four that are nominated.
Frank Dalton and I, we want to set up like a mock mediation one day. We should all do that too.
That would be cool.
I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring to be the mediator. I just want to say that.
Sweet.
You know, I will 100% do that.
Vince,
that means
you set that up for your show.
So that means you'll just be basically sitting there and just going back and forth like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm trying to meet some middle ground here.
He does it for Hollywood.
Yeah, do it for Hollywood.
That's all I said. Or something. Okay. Cool. Oh, that's just mean. Oh,
that's messed up.
And they
hey,
didn't
Vince,
even
if
give
you
their
vote for me right
name.
now, I only need 11,784.
Matt wants a recount. Matt wants a recount.
I do. I need a recount. If it's close, is there an automatic recount? Who knows? You had a few questions from before the thing that we were going to ask Vince.
Well, we've got a question from Josh Friedman about licensure. It's required to avoid consequences to the public of unlicensed individuals acting in a licensed capacity. Example, an engineer investigates a claim and determines that there is no damage because they are operating with a definition of damage that is P&C insurance illiterate. The public was harmed by an unlicensed individual operating beyond their competence.
The public was harmed.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like when they send a roofer out there, he's a licensed roofer. When they send an engineer out there, it's a licensed engineer. When they send up a plumber out there, it's a licensed plumber. The ladder assist people that we're talking about aren't licensed in anything. Maybe the ladder assist company itself is, but the person who's actually going up on the roof to do the actual inspection is not licensed. And I don't mind if he's an independent adjuster license, it's a roofing license. I just think he should have some kind of qualifications if he's going to be doing taking any photos, taking any measurements, or doing anything at all. Any license, I don't care. So
what about a Hake certification? Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, that would be good enough for me.
Really?
Something.
What's the deal with Hague? I mean, I've been hearing all these things about like good things, bad things. You just said really. Like, why? What's the deal with Hague?
Well, if we're talking about hail, for example, Hague, they took this down, but you can find it on the Wayback Machine. You could go to one of their blogs about what engineers or any kind of an expert should say regarding cosmetic hail damage. Don't call it damage.
Oh, I heard about that.
That way, the carrier can make their own determination over whether or not it's damage or not. So they're using different kind of terminology. Hague has established what the term functional damage means and has caused all kinds of heartache regarding that. So that was their terminology and their invention. That has nothing to do with insurance policy, or it didn't then. Now we're starting to see policies that have exclusions for cosmetic damage and using the functional damage terminology and all that fun stuff. I mean, there's always been a functional impairment deal, but that was more of a product for a business or something along those lines. Whatever.
Where can I find that? Where is that? Where can I find that?
Functional.
No, what you're talking about with Hague and what they're teaching and stuff like that.
So if you just Google search Hague blog, they have a monthly blog. But hey, it's at least
again, at least it's some education though that people are getting. Yeah,
I'll give you that. I've gotten a Hague certification before, and I spent 2 days in a class with them. I think we went over what wind and hail damage looked like for about an hour, and the rest of it was how to repair, how all of this is actually repairable, how all of it. And then we took a test at the end, which took me all of 10 minutes to ace. But I'm just like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Josh Friedman has a question. I think this one's from Remington. I submit a proof of loss and estimate before the initial adjustment. I provide a letter insisting the carrier out an individual with the authority to adjust the size loss that has been claimed. If they send out an adjuster with a $25,000 limit of authority on a $200,000 limit claim, have they committed bad faith?
I like this question.
Well, I think
How do we know?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. How do you know it's a $200,000 loss and not a $25,000 loss? Right at that point in time, it gets elevated. If it hits over his threshold, gets a supervisor involved, and
so what if you go over a time limit to investigate? What's the time limit in Florida to investigate a loss?
Oh, I love time limits. We've got 14 days to investigate the loss, 14 days to respond to any emails or phone calls. What do we got? 21 days to resolve the claim after a mediation is filed, 45 days to actually have a mediation, 30 days to determine
none of that.
The coverage of the law
in Georgia.
after a POL is submitted, 90 days to determine the loss. I love those. Oh, that's it.
And the beautiful thing in Florida is you have civil remedy notices, and you get to add every single one of those elements that Vince just went through and send that in to the Department of Insurance and talk about the claim. And that's where the bad faith starts and the ball gets rolling.
If the Georgia Department of Insurance is watching this right now, I want you to understand just how limited Georgia is in comparison to its neighboring state.
Oh, I go onto the Florida Department of Financial Services website and I file complaints. Oh, so much fun.
We file complaints too.
But you don't have limits? There's no limits?
No, there's no time frames at all set in Georgia for property unless it's an auto claim.
What do the homeowner bill of rights say?
The what?
You don't have those either?
We have an Unsettlement Practice Act, Settlement Practice Act, Unfair Claim Settlement Practice Act, and
there's no limits?
And there is limits in the actual act itself, but there is no private cause of action. Therefore, you cannot file a lawsuit against an insurance carrier because they violate one of the prongs within that statute. I am completely against that. If there's one way that we can change things in legislation, that is number one, in my opinion. We got to get that, because then we got the CRNs. At that point, we have somewhat of a CRN vehicle, but no, you can't even talk about it in the courtroom.
We need a fee shift in Georgia.
You got like misrepresentation of material facts and stuff. I mean, that's probably a common one.
I bet that's Jen again. She's still texting while driving. Nothing happened.
Yeah, I think so.
It is her.
You need to stop. You need to stop.
Yeah, so that's one of the big ones that we teach in the course. I mean, the limits, man, of the days are just, it's a beautiful.
That's really nice.
Yes.
It definitely makes a difference.
Got-
We work in states that have that as well, but most of our claims are out of Georgia, and it's a night and day difference. The amount of time, I think you could say that they have to do things within a reasonable amount of time in Georgia, right? So if you were to file a suit and then say it took them 6 months to respond, you could say that was unreasonable at least.
I agree. Yes. But it's still, there's no set rules and there's no set boundaries, restrictions, deadlines, whatever it might be. So then it would be up to somebody else to have an objective view on what they believe is reasonable and not, you know, and then you go down that rabbit hole. And that's what you're arguing rather than, look, after we filed this claim, they didn't inspect the loss within 14 days. You know, I mean, it's white and black.
Sure,
That's
but
what
if
we
you wait 14 days to file the claim, then
Well,
you're unreasonable.
what you right.
Happen. I get those all the time, and things happen. If I can back up those 14 days or 21 days, or listen, it happens here, 6 months. If I can back that stuff up with mitigation, with repairs, with different things, I mean, things happen. If I can back it up, then we're usually okay.
Do you know who Drew right now is?
No,
That's not one of your guys.
maybe. I don't know.
I was hoping to have grabbed one of your subscribers suddenly. No, so close.
Vince is so popular, he doesn't know if it's one of his followers or not. Let's just be honest here, guys. Let's just get that out there.
1,800.
You increased your followers by 100% this year, right? Is what it was.
No, well, no, way more on YouTube, more than that.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, if all of your followers subscribe to my channel and all of my followers subscribe to your channel, that would be totally fair.
Are you just using me, Matthew?
I totally am using you.
My thing is YouTube, though. See, my thing is YouTube, and again, I did that. That was on purpose because I did the YouTube travel thing, and I decided to do the public adjusting thing. I looked on I YouTube search public adjuster, and there was nothing there. There was a couple things that weren't any good, you know. But
I did the same thing, but there was this guy named Vince that was there.
The thing is what I've realized over the past few years is people YouTube search just as much as they Google search nowadays. So like I tell people, if you want to hang your punching bag in your garage or you want to fix something in your house, you're not going to Google it. You're going to go to YouTube, or you're going to Google it and you're going to click on the video, which is
Google owns YouTube. So any of the YouTube videos, I mean, they're going to show up in a Google search at a higher priority than anything else.
Since social media, I think we've become very what is it? We need to visual. We're visual learners, a lot of people, and instead of reading through instructions on how to do something, they'd rather. And we got a blog too. I mean, if people want to read stuff, but you know, the YouTube channel is where it's at.
Vince, did you grow up in Florida?
Born and raised in the county of Dade.
You don't sound like a Floridian.
305 till I die.
Wait a minute. What do us Floridians sound like?
Okay, so
I don't want to say anymore. Not based on that look you just gave me. I'm not saying. I'm shutting up.
I'm from Volusia County.
Gotcha. All right, so then you would understand that being from Miami, that some people say that Miami is the closest country to the United States.
That's not a lie.
So where I'm from, it's a little bit different.
How's Ohio? Are you licensed in Ohio by any chance, Vince?
No, but I'm working on getting licensed in different places. Like I said, now I just made that transition to Elite Resolutions, and I'm basically on my own. I've just got 2 adjusters under me. We're probably going to open up an office in Texas, and I'm probably going to get licenses in different places. For example, Colorado is probably going to be one of my first moves.
You're picking and choosing the best states. Why would you do that?
I have family in these states.
Oh, lucky you.
That's the God's honest truth. I've got one of my best friends lives in Texas. 2 of my best friends, they live in Texas. My aunt and uncle live in Colorado. I'm Florida.
This is really good.
I can tell.
It is delicious. I can't wait for you to finish that one so I can pour this one for you.
Yeah, but does it taste like cinnamon rolls?
It does not. I'm not sure if I'm happy about that.
Remington's eyes just lit up.
I'm going to have to go check that out. I'm going to have to check it out.
Got a soft spot for the cinnamon roll, do you? So I honestly, I don't know Ohio that well. Maybe we'll get somebody on here. You'll have to ask that question on a later date. I will get someone from Ohio on this show.
Remington, you guys get attorney fees and costs and stuff over there, right?
What's that?
Attorney fees and costs, like in litigation when you file a lawsuit?
In Georgia?
Yeah.
No.
Now we get nothing.
We do not. If this is the way we get our fees in Georgia, is if we take it all the way to trial, we win at trial, and the judge themselves believes that it is an act of bad faith, where the jury gets to determine if there is bad faith and how much it would be. If there is bad faith, we can get up to 50% of the claim and all fees and things like that. But we got to take it all the way. Whereas in Florida, I have a claim for 1 month and I get all my fees paid for and a full roof replacement. I mean, that truly is that it's night and day.
So going that far out, though, I mean, you have to float a lot of money to get to that point as an attorney, don't you?
That's exactly right. I mean, look, we got to hire the engineers, we got to hire estimators, yada, yada, yada. It goes on. And so it is floating money because these things are in litigation sometimes for 3 years. If we're talking a big commercial loss with different, you got coverage A, coverage B, coverage C. I mean, things get deep with all these experts. So yes, it is tough floating the cost. So definitely a risk. And all majority of the attorneys, even in Florida, are taking these on a contingency. So it is definitely a risk. But so that's why you got to take claims from particular public adjusters, contractors that you believe that's a legitimate claim.
Is that why you don't take any claims from me?
That's why we don't take any claims from you.
What's your leverage then? Like, Matthew's telling me there's no limits on days. You've got no right to attorney fees and costs. What the hell?
Yeah.
Let me tell you how bad this is. Before it even gets to the attorney, this is how bad it is. We don't have appraisal because there was some bad case law. What was the name of the case?
Lamb v. Allstate.
Did the guy even show up for the case?
The attorney didn't even show up.
He didn't even show up. So Allstate basically got to dictate what amount of loss is defined as in the state of Georgia, and it isn't including scope. So a single line item difference on your estimates could trigger a difference of scope, which is not appraisable. So appraisal is broken. We don't have mediation. We don't have arbitration. That's not in any policy, and it's not in the state of Georgia. Attorney's fees don't get paid for without bad faith, but you can't sue because there's no private cause of action.
Right.
Something Remington was talking about earlier. Because we don't even have that. And then we don't even have the statute that tells them that we have time limits on anything. Dude, there's nothing. There's nothing. You went on mute somehow. Mike isn't connected. Oh, no, we're going to have to cover for him for a while. Man, you'd think somebody with their own show would have their stuff together. Nope. If you say test over and over again, sometimes it works. Maybe check.
That's not on
I
our
think
side,
he's saying test. I was lip reading for a second.
You can hear me now?
There he is.
Good.
I'm trying to go Facebook Live for you, man. I'm trying to hook you up. That's all. But the problem is the microphone is the only thing. All right. So if you want to say what's up to the Facebook group.
What's going on? Facebook group named?
No, just Facebook Live. I do have a Facebook group, but I'm failing miserably at that.
What's going on, guys? Good afternoon. Happy New Year.
You guys are missing out on being able to ask Vince any question at all whatsoever, and he has to answer. We force him to answer every question. It could be about anything.
Exactly. Hey, Vince, earlier you said that you do a lot of mentoring. What is one of the major elements of adjusting a claim that you get questions about, that you provide advice about a lot of the times?
Documentation. Everybody, they all get annoyed by it. But I tell them that it's the most important thing that you can do. Don't be lazy. Investigate the loss. Make sure that you're crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's, and just providing as much information. Remember, like I said, I like to make love, not war. Let's help the field adjuster. Let's help even the desk adjuster. And I say even the desk adjuster because, the desk adjusters can be difficult. But let's help them make a coverage decision, and let's help them investigate. Let's help them gather the facts of the loss. I like to have, and I tell people it's like a top 5. I like to have my estimate, my LOR, my photos, my mitigation, and my expert documentation before I even have the initial inspection.
There are plenty of PAs that go that route, and it definitely works in states where you have a little bit of leverage. There is a different route to go, a different way to go in states that you don't have much, where you just try to get some coverage opened up before you piss them off by showing them all of the documentation and the huge estimate that you're sitting on. So there is a big difference when you're going from a claim in a state that has some consumer protection laws and a state that doesn't. But for the most part, we are the same. We try to get as much documentation as possible, at least in our back pockets, before we even file a claim. We want to make sure that we have a claim that's worth taking on, especially when you don't have very much leverage. You don't want to waste your time on something.
I'm with you there, because if you expose too much of your cards, you don't want that to lead to engineering inspections and re-inspections and all kinds of stuff. So I'm totally with you there. At the end of the day, I think what I want to make sure is we have a bit of an epidemic, I feel, with public adjusters in South Florida. And I talk to these kids all the time, and I say kids because a lot of them, they're pretty young. And it's no offense to Remington, but it's like public adjuster, sign claim, attorney, sign claim, attorney, sign claim, litigation. And it's like, guys, come on. That's not what we are licensed to do. We're licensed adjusters, we got to work the claim.
That's something that you guys have a lot in Florida too, or at least I've heard that. Have you experienced that? Do you find a lot of PAs in Florida basically have the attorney as part of their process for claims, where they just kind of feed it off to an attorney? Is that a normal thing?
Well, we have loss consultants, and loss consultants have been known to go out on behalf of attorneys to basically, I don't know how much I want to be saying, but go out on behalf of attorneys.
Cool. No one from the other side will ever hear any of this, because I only have 100 subscribers.
Yeah, they've been known to do that. So, but my point is that a lot of these guys, they don't get the documentation. They don't take photos. I didn't start taking photos until like year 3. That's a fact. I would just go in, I'd sign the claim, I'd submit it to the insurance company, I'd let them sort of do their thing, and I was wondering why all my damn claims were getting denied.
Yeah.
Year 3. That took a while to. You know what? I agree. That might have been about the time that we realized that providing our own adjustment up front made a difference on certain claims. I think that's about right for us too.
I remember I don't know when it was in my career, but I remember one day reading a denial letter and just thinking it was complete bullshit. And that was when I was like, okay, I have an argument for this. I have an argument for this. I have an argument for this. I'm going to respond with an email. It was just one day. Again, it probably was around year 3 or year 4. I used to think denial, litigation. Like, let's just send it there and forget about it. Now, that's the easy route to take for a public adjuster, to be honest, here in Florida, because that's it. I'm pretty much done with it until it settles in litigation, or the claim just settles. But, once I realized that, hey, you know what? I could argue these things. I could point out things in the policy that state otherwise. I had one now recently, denial, and they were telling me that it was wind damage, not a denial. It was a partial denial. Wind damage, and there was water damage as a result of the wind-driven rain coming in, and it caused damage to the wood flooring, and the wood flooring went through the exterior wall. And he tried to tell me that if it's a wind event, it could only be through a created opening on the roof. And I said, okay, well, show me in the policy where it states that. And he's all confident, sure, I'll say that, no problem. And it specifically says wall or roof. So I said, and he's always calling me and telling me this too, right? So I'm responding in email, and I said, dude, look at the policy. I just highlighted it for you. It says wall or roof, and now we've reopened the case. We're going out re-inspection, and I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll settle it.
I love it. Vince, every time I speak at Gap Year or one of those events, I say the same thing. I literally say document, because number one, for the public adjuster, you can get your claims approved at a higher rate than not, as obviously, like you said.
And it helped you.
And number two, if they do deny it and it sits on my desk, I got ammunition ready to rock and roll. And that's very important for me. So I love it. I love it.
I think it's super important. It's why I've got David Farber from he's in Miami, Farber Law Firm. He's going to be helping with the course next week. I had Jim Jenkins Law Firm here in Tampa come to one of our meetups that we had, a Tampa meetup, and I think it's very important for you guys, attorneys, to educate these public adjusters as well and let them know sort of the ammo that you need to help your case if and when a claim gets denied. There's a lot of attorneys that frankly, they're just always pushing, hey, I've got a dispute in this claim. What should I do? Oh, just send it to me and I'll take care of it. Hey, I've got an issue with this claim. What should I do? Oh, don't worry, send it to me. We'll file CRN. And it's like, wait, just, coach me a little bit and let me see. And I was lucky to have a guy like David Farber in Miami who was able to, assist me with that stuff and say, hey, no, here's what you should do. Respond to the email this way. And, maybe you should think about this, think about that, take this route, that route, and helped a lot.
David Farber, is it spelled like Brett Favre?
No, Farber, F-A-R-B-E-R. Oh, hey, we've got 5 people watching. Guys, Matthew Mulholland, he's being voted for one of the best public adjusters in the country, and I get to be on his show. What is the name of it? It's called Listen
to this Bowl.
This bowl.
Yeah, we're talking about bullshit that insurance companies try to feed you. So the live show, you're supposed to be able to ask us questions about some bullshit that you've had, and then we have guests on that can help answer those questions.
Where do they have to go, Matthew?
We've got I feel like I'm on your show suddenly.
Listen to this bull on YouTube. Listen to this bull on Facebook, Instagram, all the above.
Go to Listen to This Bull on YouTube, especially. There's plenty of ability for you to hit that subscribe button because Vince isn't the only guy in YouTube that's awesome on the PA side.
I get comments about my beard, but you've got a nice looking beard, man.
Thank you.
I hate standing next to him with this little peach fuzz going on right here.
That's all right, man. That's all right. It's all good.
We're good.
It's all good.
It's all good adjustments.
That's the name of my my PA firm is All Good Adjustments.
There you go.
Just,
Olivia, can you scroll up real quick? I saw a comment
about you.
What was it? If we keep on going up, right there, Drew. I don't know, Drew. I don't know your last name. We might have talked before. I don't know who Drew right now is, but I agree. And I'm using 100% a good bit on this one, but I agree 100% on that.
Go for 99.
Being an attorney in Georgia has made me a better attorney. And when I step into the Florida room, I'm just like, wow, this is it's a lot easier. It's more, I don't want to say cupcake because it's hard. Everything's hard. Insurance companies don't want to pay money, but it is definitely has made me a better attorney in the way I actually, practice in Florida. Really
do you think it's gonna always stay like that, or do you think it'll go to sort of the way we are, or do you think we are gonna end up like you guys are? Because there has been threats about them taking that away here in Florida.
That's a good question.
I agree. And I think they're chomping at it bit by bit. And I say this by first, all right, let's make AOBs tougher, and then let's do this and let's do that. And so they know they can't get it all at one time. And so the insurance carriers and all the lobbyists for these carriers are just, all right, now let's take it this next step for this next year and this next election. And then how is this going to work out? And so trust me, there's billions of dollars, especially for the state of Florida, just honed in on how we are going to take the rights away from the policyholder. I mean, it's happening. There's no doubt about it.
In Georgia, I'm currently the president of GAPIA, the Georgia Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. Remington's on the board with me as one of the associate members. But with our Department of Insurance, the commissioner has admitted that he would rather the state act a little bit more like Florida and Texas, and specifically those states when we sat down with him. So hopefully it goes more towards the Florida direction, but it is tough to make those changes. And some of the changes can't be made directly by the Department of Insurance. There has to be a bill presented to the legislature in order to get some of that stuff approved. So we're hoping to be able to make some waves there, but it's a slow process no matter what happens.
We've got FAPIA here, the Florida Association of Insurance Public Insurance Adjusters, and yeah, I'm part of FAPIA, and we try to get out and meet with different legislators who could sort of change some of the issues that we're dealing with. So we've got somewhat of the same thing here.
Yeah, I've always called it FAPIA. Is it FAPIA? FAPIA.
Tomato.
Do they say FAPIA there?
And we might as well just call it FAPIA.
I love it. And just to give you a little bit of perspective here, Vince, Gapia, how many members do you think are in Gapia? 80-ish? 70, 80? I know FAPIA. I've been a part of FAPIA before in the past, and I've been to their events, and there's hundreds and hundreds of individuals. There's more attorneys there than there should be, but there's hundreds and hundreds of individuals that come to these events, and they're 3 days. We have a 1-day presentation. So just to give a little perspective.
Yeah. We got a question up on the screen we should probably answer. So is it fair to send adjusters to, say, Florida, and they don't know Florida standards? So I've seen so many estimates with 3 tabs, improper installation, etc. But where I am working, it's only ARC 30-year, and improper installation doesn't exist. How are homeowners supposed to know this? Their contractor? Is that fair?
I'm gonna let Vince.
And they're saying like when adjusters come in after a hurricane.
I mean, we do a lot of the same things here. I mean, we basically just go with the codes. Whatever the current code is or whatever, that's what we sort of go with. And if 3-tab is not under code anymore, and we need to put the architectural shingle, then that's what we put in there. But sometimes it flies, sometimes it doesn't. But we do the codes. The codes are a big thing in Florida. We had a podcast with what's his name? I can't remember right now. I'm drawing a blank. But he was talking about all kinds of stuff. Like again, I'm not more of an adjusting expert than I am of a contractor expert. But codes with like nails and the nails being 6 inches apart. If there's any kind of water damage to the shingle, we've got to the sheathing. Then we've got to replace all the sheathing. So it's like there's different things, and I just don't have them all in front of me right now that we present to the insurance company, and we're usually able to argue a lot of it.
I mean, if you know the jurisdiction and what the codes are, and they have the right coverage for it, there are a lot of policies where ordinance and law is supposed to be tacked on only after the limit of insurance has been reached. But there are also a lot of policies where any additional costs associated because of the enforcement of a building code, which would apply in this situation. If they already had a 3-tab and they were having to be upgraded to an ARC because of a wind resistance code in that jurisdiction, they'd have to have the right coverage in order to get that. So it's a policy specific question, I think. But is it fair to send out someone that doesn't know the codes in that area? I think is the question.
Probably not, but I mean, isn't that just another day in the life? I feel of what we do is a lot of the things that they do fair.
Do you treat this like a chess match, Vince? Do you treat claims that way sometimes?
Not really. I know a lot of people that do. See, again, the advantage that we have here, and I would have to say, and I was, again, talking to Frank Dalton about this, but I would probably say about 90% of my claims I actually settle on my own. That being said, I know that I've got the attorney back here waiting, chomping at the bit, if I can't get to the resolution that I want. So as far as a chess match, no. What I do is, I document. I send emails every 7 days. If they slip up after 14 days, I'm filing with the state. If I present a POL on the 1st and they haven't made a coverage decision on the 1st of the next month, I'm going to the state again. I'm filing appraisals, I'm filing mediations, and I'm doing everything I can. And again, if I feel like if I document and I send letters certified and emails on a weekly basis to these people, I usually get what I want. But if they don't want to pay, I already know. I go, put it this way. I go to inspections and I used to get, when I first started, I used to get all nervous and, oh my God, he said this and he said that. And I had one guy who was yanking out stuff from underneath the kitchen cabinets and and I used to get so nervous, but I wouldn't prepare my claims correctly and it'd go to litigation. And after a while, I was like, what do I care? Why do I care? Because if they're going to bully me or they're going to say whatever they're going to say, or they're not going to now I'm doing such a good job with presenting my evidence that they're just going to throw it all away and not, okay, do what you want. You'll file a lawsuit. And it's going to cost you a lot more money in litigation for you to fight this. Or you could just pay it now. I'm willing to negotiate with you and walk away with this. That's
nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then
what I was saying earlier that for attorneys in Georgia, they seem to be a lot better if they have to work in this state, and it has a lot to do with the lack of having those statutes and things. And I think the same is true for public adjusters. If we're the only leverage that an insured can have by getting a PA involved, and going to an attorney is going to end up costing the attorney's fees because you're not going to get the attorney's fees paid for in most cases. I mean, less than 1% of insurance litigation gets bad faith. Maybe even less than that, less than 0.5%.
I mean, I've gotten bad faith in a couple instances in Georgia. Percentage wise, I don't know.
A couple. Two.
I mean, it's
a couple is different for so many people.
When we have a case,
I want to narrow this down to a number.
Let's go with 2.5. All right.
How do you get 2.5?
But here's what they do though. Here's what they do. If you have a case that is bad faith, just black and white bad faith, they're going to settle it. And what's that policyholder going to do? They're going to accept it. And then there is no bad faith.
They'd rather do that than wait 3 years, right?
I don't blame them. I mean, honestly, you got to have that right policyholder. You got to have the right damages to be able to take it all the way. You do.
Right.
Tiny.
So in Georgia, you're hiring the public adjuster to just really obviously negotiate on your behalf, but set up the claim, prepare the documentation, gather everything, mention policy or argue policy, and that's basically
it's the same job. It's the same job as you guys have in Florida. The only difference is we just don't have the leverage that you have in Florida.
Yeah,
we have to be really good in order to be effective. And so it's like a boot camp state up. If you can make it, it's like they say in New York. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. If you can be a good PA in Georgia and be successful in Georgia as a PA, you can be a good PA anywhere. It's a state where you just don't have much leverage.
I agree with you on that. I think that's a great point. And it's why I've started to make the shift over the last, 7 years or so, where it's just like, all right, I'm going to actually really, really, really take this job seriously and gather all the documentation that I'm supposed to, in the chance that we don't have that leverage anymore.
That's a good idea. I got to tell you, if you applied, if there's PAs that typically go straight to attorney, which is probably illegal, if their goal, I mean, if it's part of their process, it's definitely illegal. You're supposed to at least intend to work the way that your contract stipulates that you're supposed to do.
Yeah, they just can't be a vehicle to put cases into a law firm.
So that would be illegal. And I'm asking you because I'm not an attorney, just to
go to the property, inspect it, write an estimate, send in the LOR, things like that, and then honestly, it doesn't become illegal. But
I'm not. I know, Matthew. I'm not saying that it's like. Yeah.
To get back to my point, because I wasn't trying to say that you were that way. So my point is, though, if you live in a state where you could do that, but you choose not to, you instead choose to actually work the file, more often than not, you're still going to settle cases outside of having to get an attorney a lot faster, and you'll be a better PA. And I think that's great about you because you live in a state where you could do that. There are a lot of PAs that do that, even though it's probably unethical. I applaud you for not being that way. It makes you better. Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to train as many guys as I can and girls to work the claim correctly. Because if we go to litigation all the time, it's going to go away. It costs too much money. And then the other thing is just the level of respect that I want to make sure PAs have in Florida. Sometimes as soon as an insurance company sees there's a PA on it, they're just like, they're all like, oh, either this is bullshit or we're not going to pay. It's like a weird.
Do you think there's less respect for PAs in a state that is favorable to consumers than states where it isn't? From adjusters, from insurance companies, do you think there's less respect for PAs in Florida versus a state that isn't as good as Florida?
From my end and the position I put myself in, like with social media and all the questions that I get and stuff, I think it's getting better. But I don't know if that's just because I'm hearing from more IAs now, and I'm more open in talking to a lot of these desk adjusters. The desk adjusters are kind of they're a problem. The desk adjusters, they're a problem. I feel like as soon as they get a call and they know they've got the public adjuster waiting, they're just like, all right. They start like stretching, ready for some kind of fight. And I'm just like, guys, come on, that's not what this is about. The field adjusters are great. I love every single one of them, most of them.
You work in Florida and Georgia, right?
Correct.
Do you think there is a difference in respect level?
I think every desk adjuster, field adjuster has just like any profession, you got good apples and bad apples. And I think they know exactly what PA firm that they're about to go meet at this property. And I think they prepare themselves mentally for how this is about to go one way or the other. So I don't think there's necessarily a more disrespect for public adjusters in Florida. Maybe there's more because they have more arrows in the quiver, such as filing CRNs, asking for mediation, going to appraisal, than Georgia. But I think it's like every profession, you got the good and you got the bad, and everybody has their own opinion about, a particular firm. I really do.
I mean, we definitely get the adjusters all the time that have a bad taste in their mouth about dealing with a public adjuster in Georgia. So I don't know if there really is a difference. It would surprise me to find out that there's more respect for PAs in Georgia than in Florida just because the consumer protection laws are better there. And that be the level of respect that we're getting. And that's a higher level of respect. It would be so weird to see that people in Florida get less. I don't think it probably isn't true. It probably wouldn't.
I don't know. I think desk adjusters, they get a little defensive. They're just like, they just rather deal with a homeowner who doesn't know anything. I think.
We're the contractor.
Huh?
We're the contractor. They tend to push the contractors around here quite a bit, but they're not licensed. Or at least roofers aren't licensed. Most contractors aren't licensed in Florida or in Georgia. Florida PAs are the most disrespected.
Look, in Florida, I don't know what the percentage is, but I can tell you it is probably 1,000% more that there's a PA on a claim than in Georgia. So you got that widespread. I mean, true.
There's definitely less PAs.
A lot of PAs here. There's a lot of PAs in Florida, especially down south.
Yeah.
If you go knock on a homeowner's door in South Florida that's been hit by a hurricane, they know what a public adjuster is. You knock on a house in Atlanta and you ask them what a public adjuster is, they're going to have no idea.
When I moved to Tampa, I thought that was funny, where I had to once again explain to people what a public adjuster was, like in the beginning of my career.
Exactly.
Saturated. Do you think your market is saturated, Vince?
In Miami, yeah. In Miami, it's saturated, but again, you could use that to your advantage because you don't have to explain what a PA is. They already know and they're already aware. But one thing I find also in Miami and in the Latin community is they are also more willing to trust somebody to take over their claim because there might be a language barrier or because there just might be an educational, like, I don't understand how to read a policy and I'm willing to, okay, I'll pay you your percentage for you to go ahead and work the claim. For you to work the claim. As opposed to I'm sorry, guys. I've been having trouble here in Tampa of even now with my experience. I show them a YouTube channel. I show them, look at all these followers I have, and they don't care. Let me give the insurance company a shot. Let me see what they do. And I'm like, why are you going to do that? Did you know that they've got 14 days to come out and inspect your property? Did you know that, you need to provide them with a repair estimate? Or did you know that, all these different things? And it's like, they don't, but they want to give the insurance company a chance to see. Let me save on your percentage and see what the insurance company is going to pay out.
Let me ask you a completely unrelated question. Something I wanted to ask you earlier. For your YouTube channel, for your maybe even your live deal, do you find that your primary audience is public adjusters or contractors?
Public adjusters.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have no idea what my primary audience is.
You better find that out.
I need to find out.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that's been asking questions on here so far, I think has been public adjusters.
Is that normal?
No, we have a lot of contractors as well.
There you go.
How about that? See, Olivia knows everything.
So
And there's attorneys watching.
Well, that's true. And
So-
and obviously there's someone from Allstate watching, because I got a link to a video on one of my claims the other day.
Matthew, how's your dynamic working with general contractors and roofers and stuff on like commercial claims and they're out there and they're trying to supplement, like what's the advantage? How do you guys work together? What's the advantage of, hey, let's bring a public adjuster on to take care of this?
Well, I mean, you know as well as I do that contractors aren't policy experts. Commercial policies are very different from one policy to the next. So if I use the contractor as an expert, kind of like the insurance carrier does, and I'm the policy expert, there's a huge difference in how smooth a claim can go. If I am basically asked something that is very construction specific question, I can go to the contractor and have them answer that question as the expert. And then I can attribute that to how the policy is written to make sure that the carrier understands that because of this answer, here's the coverage, the way it's supposed to be provided, and here's what you're supposed to do. That way there's a pass through from my expert to them and then to their expert who is going to correlate all things. I think it works a little bit better that way, especially on the commercial claims. I think they go a lot smoother if there is a public adjuster involved. And the earlier the better, because if you screw up a claim as a contractor, it's really tough. You get involved in claims after it's already been adjusted with a contractor involved that screwed it up, I'm sure, right? You've had plenty of those? Yeah. I can see it in your eyes. You're like,
Do you find them wanting to just handle it themselves?
sometimes, but less so on the larger claims.
Gotcha.
I think that,
Makes sense.
yeah, it does, because if there's such a discrepancy between coverages, and getting a PA involved might lead to coverage that's in this policy that could double the claim, would you rather double a $2 million claim or a $40,000 claim? You'd rather double the $2 million. So getting a PA or referring a PA on the larger claims makes more sense to most contractors. Very few contractors will say that they wouldn't want to get a PA involved on the really big claims.
Right.
So at this point, you know, the vast majority of our claims are multi-million dollars. And it's really beneficial having us involved because they're complex as hell.
Yeah.
And when you don't have much leverage in this state, you really need to have as much in your corner as you can, because otherwise it's just going to be lowballed so much it's not worth doing as a contractor. So we get a lot of those claims.
I find contractors not want to deal with the insurance company too. It's like, I don't want to deal with it. You take care of it.
Do they give you guys UPA issues? Do they give the contractors the cold shoulder if they're not a licensed PA or something along those lines? Say, I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to respond to you.
Yeah.
They
Pretty
do?
often. Yeah.
Do you think and this might be a better question for you, do you think the timeframes that are established in Florida also have to be followed if it's the contractor that's asking the question?
If there's a claim already filed?
Absolutely, because it's in the Unfair Claims Practices Act. It's in the Homeowner Bill of Rights. Of course, yeah.
Right.
But they just
Contractor isn't representing the insured, right?
doesn't matter. This is to the policyholder, not the public adjuster. It's owed to the public. It's owed to the policyholder.
So if the contractor were to ask a policy specific question, right, completely outside what they should be doing, if they were to ask a policy specific question to the adjuster on behalf of the insured in Florida, does the insurance carrier still have to respond within the same guide or time frame guidelines?
I think it states specifically that any contact made to the insurance. Well, I guess they're not. Yeah, 100%.
Thank
Yes.
you, Facebook user.
I guess they're not the adjuster representing the policyholder, but I mean, I don't
Right.
know.
I think we're in a gray area at that point. If it's a public adjuster, it's obvious. It's 100%. They're an agent representative of that policyholder, and they can talk policy and they can ask these questions, and they have the license to do so. Well, on the other side, as a contractor, you don't necessarily have the license to talk policy, right? So that's a question. I honestly, legally, I kind of want to think somebody said 100% yes. I don't know if that's the correct answer. I really don't. Yeah, I would too. I think I would say no.
I don't think they would either. They wouldn't have to respond at all, I don't think.
Right.
That's how I would apply. I mean, if they're not representing the insured and the insured didn't send that over to them, if the insured were to have forwarded that email that was sent to them,
That's a different.
that'd be one thing.
Right.
Because it's coming from the insured. But if the contractor sent that directly, I think that there would be an issue. And if the contractor is directing the insured to say something, obviously that's violating some UPA rules, depending on what it is that they're directing the insured to send them. But that's an interesting question I never thought about.
It is.
Who said 100% yes?
Facebook user.
A Facebook user.
Facebook user. They're the best. I love Facebook user. He's all over the place. He or she.
He or she.
It is everywhere.
Matt, you can't call people it. We've discussed
Facebook
this.
user is an it until it is identified.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right. Geez, we're way over time again. Vince, I really appreciate you coming in. If people want to get involved with you, if they want to take your course, where would they go?
Commercialclaimsadvocate.com. They can pretty much get all the information there, everything they need.
Yeah. Is there any other thing that they should be looking up for you? What's your YouTube channel?
So the YouTube channel is a Commercial Claims Advocate. No, the Commercial Claims Show. Commercial Claims Show. Without the. We dropped the. Commercial Claims Show on YouTube is where we have weekly content going out. We've got the podcast there, the weekly just sort of educational, whatever it is that I'm educating on. We've also got some free webinars that we do every once in a while. The blog is up on commercialclaimsadvocate.com all the time.
There you go.
One thing I'm really excited. There you go. There's Rico. That's Rico from Eco Tech Pro. One thing I'm really excited about is the meetups that we're doing. That came out of nowhere. That was just like, I was going back to Miami for a claim, and I was just like, let me just post a video and see who shows up. And I was like, hey, if you guys want to come meet me, I'm going to be at, such and such place Friday for happy hour. Come meet me. And we had, in the pouring rain, I grew up in Miami, and I've seen some rainstorms. This was like the mecca of all rainstorms. Not wind, but just just torrential downfall. And we had like 20 people come. And I'm like, that right there was like.
Was it during COVID too?
You had to ask that question. You had to ask that.
Is it illegal for you to answer that question? Are you going to get arrested because of your answer?
People are very
taking your headphones off for this answer.
People are very
part of this.
A year and a half I've been doing this, and I could count in one or two fingers how many negative comments I had. After the last meetup, I had a couple comments that were just like 3,000 people dying a day, and look at this guy doing a meetup.
No.
Anyway, we did one in Miami. It was a real big success. Then we did one in Pensacola because I went to go meet one of my guys out there and meet some people. I did one, great success. And then I just did one in Tampa. And this time in Tampa, I spoke, and I had an attorney, had Jim Jenkins, speak to everybody. And what we're doing is we're just getting public adjusters together. We're getting public adjusters, we're getting contractors, we're getting water mitigation guys, we're getting attorneys, we're getting everybody together just so that we could talk shop. Let's talk shop. Let's pick each other's brains. No matter how long somebody's been doing this, you could pick. Like, I have learned more from the newbies and just sort of the way I agree. Right?
I agree 100%. They make you think a little bit more because they give you this off the wall question that makes you go, oh, I never thought of that.
Yep.
No, the newbies give you the best insight. They're the best.
So
Yeah.
I learn more from those guys than I have just in my daily routine. So when we do the meetups, that's what happens. And the meetup for me, it's like I'm just sort of getting a little chills, like just thinking about it. It's like for me, it's a beautiful thing of just everybody on the same side getting together and really just sharing these ideas. We're not competitors right now, or nor should we ever be, but we're not competing against each other. We're not trying to fight against each other to try to get that claim or whatever. Let's work together, because at the end of the day, even though I do like to try to make love and not war with the insurance company, at the end of the day, those are the ones that we have to go up against. And if we could really combine our forces, I think we're just going to be a lot more successful. So the goal in 2021 here is I'm going to really try to have some more of these meetups. I guess, the COVID thing, it could be a little weird, but I'd like to have one in Orlando. I'd like to have one in Jacksonville, and then I'd like to have one out in Texas. And maybe we could have one out in Georgia. We could sort of combine what we've got going on and just do something and just bring everybody together. It's great for us because we get to sort of network and learn from other public adjusters. It's great for attorneys to meet other public adjusters. It's great for the mitigation guys, the contractors, to meet other public adjusters. For me, it's a public adjuster event, but it's a public adjuster event, but it's also good for other people in the industry to network with the public adjusters.
Yeah, I agree. I run a forum called the Georgia Restoration Collaboration on Facebook, and we've had a few Zoom meeting type deals because we're pansies and didn't want to do it in person because we're all scared of bugs and stuff. But yeah, I love the idea. And everybody has been asking me to do another one of these, and they keep pushing me to do something in person. I think that's a great idea. If we get something set up, I'll give you a call. Maybe we can connect. I love that idea. Let's definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to shoot for I talked to Pate about it. We're thinking about doing one in Texas. He wants to be in on that. And yeah, let's do one in Georgia. I'm in. I think it'd be fantastic.
And look who we're going up against. Biggest corporations in America. Like you said, hey, there is no competition when this happens. Let's get together. Let's share ideas and let's move this industry forward. I love it.
Absolutely.
Common goal towards a common enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No, love, not war. All right, Matt, come on.
That's why you take bedroom photos.
There you go. Exactly.
Vince, it was a pleasure, man. Thanks for being on.
It's been awesome, bud.
We'll have you on again soon.
Thank you for having me on. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Happy New Year.
This two ladies gone. Who do we got next week, Olivia?
So next week, we are linking up with John Dye again, and we're going to be talking about what's going on with the summit, which is also next week, the 14th and 15th. If you haven't signed up, check out the American Contractor Summit.
So next week, the 14th and 15th is Thursday and Friday. So we're going to have them on the 12th, 2 days before the summit.
2 days before the summit.
If you have any question on what's going to go on that, and you're just on the fence about whether or not you should buy that super expensive ticket that's only $99, I think, you should get on the show and ask him some questions. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer those questions.
He's super pumped. He's got a lot of people lined up. So
I'm going to the thing. Well,
me too.
I'm watching. I don't even know what you're supposed to say.
We're watching.
We're going to attend the event
virtually.
Virtually.
And he's a great guy. I love him.
Yeah,
he's spent some time with him before. He's very knowledgeable, knows his stuff.
Yes, he does. Actually, I wrote down several questions I didn't get to ask him last time. I'm really excited he's going to be on so soon again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. So we'll see you guys next week, Tuesday at 4. Have a good one.
See ya. Happy New Year.